In half a mile, the destination is on your left. East Hill Cemetery.
I'm not gonna be able to see.
I heard you say you found the story.
Well, here's the thing about cemeteries when you're going to look for something. Hey, is that like a map? There's no way that's the map. Is that it's a big cemetery and I have no idea where? Guided tours available. Nope, that's not a map, but still would be very interesting to read. All right, we're just going to, I think maybe something might be up there that we want to see. Welcome to another episode of Stories Within the Stones. Stones? Stones. I think it's stones. My husband's like, I don't know. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Anyway,
stone itself can be plural, so I really, you know.
It's stones. Stories Within the Stones.
I would have just named it Stone. It's kind of like adventures await versus adventure awaits. I like to think of it as plural adventures.
Oh my gosh, so right in front of me is a road sign we didn't see when we parked, and I'll get to that in just a second, but it's making me smile. So we are in Bristol, Tennessee. Now, hey husband, come back over here because I want to see your expression. And probably because of what you saw when we came up here, but this cemetery reminds me of Carowinds. Yes, Carowinds, the amusement park. Why?
Because it takes about the same amount of time to drive to either of them from the house?
Half this cemetery is in Tennessee, and half this cemetery, or not half, we'll say part. Part of this cemetery is in Tennessee, and part of it is in Virginia.
Ah.
And in Carowinds, part of the amusement park is in North Carolina, and part of the amusement park is in Virginia. No, South Carolina. Sorry, South Carolina. God, where are we? Okay, so there are three specific graves that we're looking for. Couldn't find a map, so have no idea where they are, except for one of them. And actually one of them I didn't even know about until I was doing some research on this cemetery after I had already picked the two that I wanted to see. And that person is V.N. Bud Phillips. He actually died in 2017, and it's ironic because where we parked, right here, I can see his grave site right through here. Had no idea, but we're gonna go up there and we're gonna talk about him first.
Oh, so we're here early in the day.
Oh, that's another thing. I've never been to a cemetery before 9 a.m. before.
And there's still dew on the ground, and so I hope we don't have to walk around too much today because there's dew on the ground, and I only brought one pair of shoes, and I don't want those to get wet. And I've been driving all morning. I'm just kind of dead tired at this point.
2 hours, guys. He's been driving 2 hours.
I'm just dying to get this over with and back on the road.
Dead, tired, and dying to get... Oh my gosh, honey, really?
Gosh.
One of the things I really like about researching cemeteries is finding something very unique or story of someone very unique that you weren't expecting. And that is just what I did with Mr. Bud Phillips here. He was the historian of Bristol. And he had like, I don't know if it was like a TV series, a PBS series, but he did like little TV shows. And one of those TV shows, he was in a chair. It was in 2014, so just a few years before he died. And he was in a chair about sitting right here, and he was facing this way, so the camera was just like this. And that's how I knew that his marker was a book, because he was sitting here and he said that he had already, that this is where he would be residing for hundreds of years, would be right here. And so that's how I knew. So immediately I turned out, it was something I was watching on YouTube. I turned it off and researched to see if he passed away, and he had passed away. So I just wanted, oh, and somebody, evidently it's gone, but he had made the comment where somebody had came by and planted a yellow rose, because he had made a comment in one of his shows about how he loved yellow roses, and somebody planted one even before he passed away. So Pleasant Hill Memorial Garden, named for Old Pleasant Hill, long the home of V.N. Bud Phillips, author, historian, newspaper columnist who gave the best years of his life for the good of Bristol. And then I'm just going to take a picture of this and insert. Okay, and because of him, this little marker, this person's not here, but in memory of A.T.M. Province, first tombstone maker of Bristol. So he told the story of, this was just a new town at the time. They didn't have a tombstone maker. And so this gentleman, only known by ATM, started a business, and unfortunately it didn't, he didn't make a lot of money. And when he passed away, he only had $500 to his name. So years later, Mr. Bud here did a little show on him, talked about him on one of his shows, and a distant relative contacted them, got a little more information about him, and so Mr. Bud Phillips here decided that, oh, I'm sorry, and then somebody else, some other headstone maker contacted him and said, hey, we would like to give this gentleman a marker, because he couldn't even afford his own marker. Like, he was in an unmarked grave, which I believe it's somewhere here, but it was unmarked. They didn't know where he was. So Mr. Phillips said, well, if you'll do that, I will put it on my plot. So he kind of donated part of his plot for the first tombstone maker in Bristol. So I heard you go, oh, that's cool. And
the bench here.
Oh, friend, I'm kind of, don't get my shadow here. Friend, rest here a while and look to the west and view the city which I chose for my home in 1953, and found it to be truly a good place to live.
Well, look up.
It is. You can truly see the city. Yeah, he had no relatives here or anything. He just came here and loved it. Man, he does have like a wonderful spot up here.
Oh yeah.
And this is interesting. Huh. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. It says Pleasant Hill Garden, and it's on top of George Aiken Claudwell, born February 10th, 1825, died July 2nd, 1896, a minister of the gospel for 44 years, and pastor of the Presbyterian Church of Bristol, Tennessee for 27 years. Huh.
So I'm not quite as much of a cemetery
enthusiast
as my wife is. However, I will have to say this one is especially well, I don't know, not really documented, but there's a lot of plaques and stuff that tell some good stories here. And for instance, over my left shoulder is a marker that says first burial in East Hill Cemetery.
Oh, that was for a 5-year girl. That was a 5-year-old girl.
And that's one of the things that lots of people like to search out and whatnot, but there's lots of interesting stuff here. I'll give it to this one.
Yeah.
Nice job, East Hill.
So the first burial here was 5-year-old Nellie Gaines in 1857. And another interesting fact, 18% of the burials were before 1900. And then before 1961, 80% of the cemetery was full. So we see 2 placards over here, historical markers, and Tom already said one was the first burial. So we'll go see Nellie. I wasn't expecting to see her, and we'll see what that other marker is down there. Kind of like Tom was stating, I don't think I've ever seen a marker. Oh, I'm pretty sure I just found one that we're looking for. I just squirreled over there in that fence. Anyway, I've never seen a marker that tells you the first burial of the cemetery. So this is very interesting because I did not know the rest of the story. Shortly after she passed away, the family moved to Texas. Her father returned here in 1887 and built a small shed over the grave. It remained as a sole marker for several years. Later, her only marker was a huge poplar tree that stood at the head of the grave, and this marker was placed here in 2014. And this is neat because it tells you who preached her funeral. So Reverend James King preached her funeral using the text, "Suffer little children and forbid them not to come unto me," or no, "For of such is the kingdom of heaven." And then you also have this one, first grave in East Tennessee. So we definitely had some older graves.
That one's marked as the slave section.
Oh, that's right, they do have a slave section. So that's what that marker says.
And it's just a remarkably well, marked and
informative cemetery. Yeah. So I'm noticing this fence from a picture, and this gentleman would be buried in the older section. So we're gonna go. This is one of the 2 original graves I wanted to come visit because of the story. All right, this is not who I thought it was. Oh my gosh, but it's the other one I'm looking for. That is so odd. Okay, you're gonna like this one, honey. So this is not who I thought it was, but this is wild. This is the other one. So I'm kind of standing, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, I feel like my shadow will help you see it better. So this is General Evan Shelby, Reverend War Soldier. I got the flag up here, but why, I think...
Revolutionary?
What do you see now?
Would it be Revolutionary War soldier?
Yes. So, and this says Evan Shelby, Indiana, and I can't quite read the rest of it. But what you're gonna find interesting is, do you notice where it says down here, placed by the General Evan Shelby Chapter, NSDAR, Owensboro, Kentucky? Has it clicked, Shelby and Kentucky yet?
Oh.
So, Arcadia Farms, we did a video on a bed and breakfast there. And we told y'all a very interesting story. This is the father of that Shelby, of Isaac Shelby, the 1st and 5th governor of Kentucky.
Huh.
I had no idea. This is not, so it's the next, when we find the other one I'm looking for, I was researching that one, and then I stumble upon him. Had no idea he was here.
That's kind of a very odd
coincidence.
Isn't
it though? When I read that, I'm like, oh my goodness. So, yeah. Was really. So again, I'm going to link that video for you guys at the end of this one, so that you'll know the whole story, because it's really neat. Okay, adrenaline rush. Tom was just reading, so we were walking this direction.
It shouldn't be that surprising that I read.
So this is a private, John Emmert, died February 26, 1917. And then I'm like, oh cool, he was a constable. And then Tom reads this. Discoverer of the Bat Creek Stone. And there's actually like a, engraving of the stone. A stone I don't know about. And I'm going to have to now research. Oh, and he was a Freemason. I'm taking a picture of that stone engraving, and I hear him go, oh dear Lord. And what was that for?
Buried nearby are 12 slaves, including old Cy Goodson, who died in 1862, purportedly at the age of 132.
Impossible.
Reported to be the oldest man in the world. Others include Cy's son Abe, who walked to Bristol from Mississippi.
Oh my gosh. What an interesting story. Aunt Millie Anderson, a cook for the Anderson family, which the Anderson family was the founders of Bristol. We'll get to that grave in a little bit. Jake Bosang, whose grave was marked for years with a white post. Rosie Anderson, 1859, and some others, and others unknown. Oh, so they're listing all 12 of them. Okay, so this says the same thing. So we just have some stones that we can't read if they ever had anything on them in here. And then even, I'm kind of going downhill. It's hard to tell on camera, but yep, going downhill. And we have one here in the woods, and one right there in the woods. Ooh, this one we can actually sort of read. Actually, I can't. Died June 14th, 1901. Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot read that. Shucks. Well, I wonder what used to hang on this post. Oh. Can't really read this one. 1906. Of September and October. So 1 month. I love taking no, it's not. No, we already found the book.
I thought there was another book.
No, that was the only book. So I just showed you the infant, and we were walking this way to go to that monument, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I found my original one. Defender of the Bridge, James Keeling. As I start to read this story, I'm going to get his expression. And then I realize, oh crud, I actually kind of told him this story last night. Most of Mr. James Keeling is buried here on the Virginia side of the East Hill Cemetery. But his hand is in a grave across the state line in Tennessee. Only a few hundred yards from where it was chopped off.
Keeling was 43 years old on November 8, 1861. He fought a group of Union loyalists known as bridge burners who wanted to torch the railroad bridge. Supposedly, he was shot 3 times and had multiple knife wounds, but he was able to kill 3 of them. A woman nearby made a bag for his hand and buried it in her family cemetery.
James Keeling, the South something or another, successfully defended the bridge at Strawberry
Plains, Tennessee,
on the night of November 8th, 1861. Single-handed, he repulsed the Federal bridge burners, killing 3 and himself maimed for life. Died in Bristol, Tennessee, February 12th, 1895.
I was not expecting this. Erected by the members of James Keeling Camp, number 52, Sons of the Confederate Veterans, Bristol, Tennessee, with everybody's name. So this is the service section. It's something very surreal about all, you know, the military sections of cemeteries with them all lined up. And right over here is some, this gate is not opened, but this is just a, oh, they call it, oh, okay. I thought this would just be East Hill Cemetery gate, but it's Confederate Unknown, and the steps leading up to the section. So this person passed away in 1901. Something gently calls a child to sleep. Maybe it gently calls a child to sleep upon its mother's breast, reclining in his easy chair. I had no idea they called them easy chairs back then. Wow, this one just keeps on going. Looks like a chimney. So this one says Lena Maud Smith, April 28th, 1867, August 19th, 1868. And Tom just realized that this is evidently where Lena lays. And this poor thing, this has completely fell over. Flannery. So I was curious about the marker, and Tom has the explanation.
It's just kind of a survey marker, and it's in a nice big chunk of stone or concrete here because you want it to be stable, because it's your reference for finding stuff.
And here lies a Freemason. Oh, I found another marker, hon. They're like basically in a straight line of each other. So the other one, oh no, it's not. The other one was to the right of that statue. Oh wow, that will make an interesting picture.
So if you've got a second point like this, then you've got all the information you need as far as elevations and directions and whatnot. You can shoot this one to the other one and then find everything from there.
That's interesting. What's the date on it?
1933.
Wow.
Marker number 1, that was marker number 2 or 3, I think.
Oh really? Well, that makes me want to find the other.
There should be no logic to where it is. at the wall coming apart and moving and not being straight anymore.
Wow, this is so pretty. This ivy. But I saw like old ivy in there, so that's what's killing this wall actually, is this ivy.
So we've had a very interesting bit of time here this morning at the East Hill Cemetery. But my wife fed me coffee this morning on the way here. And seeing as there do not appear to be a lot of public facilities here, it may be time for us to continue our journey headed up north to Virginia. Well, I guess we're already there, aren't we?
Sorta.
Just not the right part.
With that being said, that means I will be back, because there's a lot that we have not seen. I even see another historical, oh, actually we're going down there. That's the founder. So I will go down there real quick. And then after that, we will be on our way, but I will be back. I will be bringing my sister, since this is only 2 hours from home. She enjoys the history and the architecture of cemeteries, the stories of the people that rest. So I will bring her back. So that means another vlog will be coming your way on this cemetery. So make sure to subscribe. Check out the playlist for all my stories within the stones vlogs, and let's go check out the founder real quick.
If you know of any interesting historic cemeteries, you know what? All cemeteries are historic. Any interesting cemeteries that I should visit, please comment below.
Might not be able to see it because it's backlit, but that is Anderson. And the founder of Bristol, Joseph Ray Anderson, 1819, 1888. Oh, 1888, that is the year that George Vanderbilt visited Asheville for the very first time. I know, random tidbit there. And this was erected in 2010. He founded the original town of Bristol, Virginia/Tennessee in 1852. Both sides of the town were given recognition on the official records of the time. He erected the first building in the town and became the first merchant, postmaster, and banker. And actually all that was in the same building. I know the postmaster and the store, the General Mercantile, were in the same building. Not sure about the bank. As the town grew, he became a prominent business, civic, church leader, and so remained throughout his lifetime. On the day before his death, Anderson was nominated for governor of Tennessee. Oh, I did not know that part. In 1856, a group of citizens combined the original Bristol, Virginia, with the adjoining Goodsonville to form the composite town of Goodson. A point of confusion resulted since the depot, and for the most years the post office remained as Bristol. In 1890, all the Virginia side returned to the name Anderson had given it in 1852, was reincorporated as such, and so remains today. In tribute to Joseph R. Anderson, who founded Bristol in 1852. Died May 18th. Something about good light or good night, which the Lord, something about judging, shall. It's really hard to read that one. So many stories to tell, yet so little time. So as we leave, the Eagles song Hotel California is on, which is quite ironic.
Look at the colors here.
Because the song says you can come, but you can never leave. Wow. It's pretty. Okay, I find this a little comical. So right across from the cemetery is a house that decorated their yard with tombstones and ghosts. I love it.
I heard you say you found the story all tucked away in the back of the room. Been lost for years, far away from the glory, in the midst of our day-to-day routine, in the corner of our mind.